Mayang buntag, mayang pun, mayang gabi, no matter where you are in the world. That Thanks for stopping by today. And they actually changed a bunch of stuff on the opening screen to this. So I had to go back through and double check and make sure that microphone was right and all that good rot. And I also had to figure out where all the new switches they put are. You're gonna have to excuse me for a second. That I'm just messaging a couple people that I went live. I almost went through the StreamYard, but I haven't done an actual live test yet. And I need to set up some time and do that on a private live stream. But I don't know how well you can read that. Down by Davao, there was actually a pretty bad earthquake this morning, 7.1, but it was at like 1 o'clock in the morning our time. Good morning, Mr. David. How are you doing today? That Okay, I'm done. You have my entire attention. I get distracted easily, and that's normally part of her job is keeping me focused on stuff. That there's all kinds of rabbits and squirrels for me to be distracted, and it's a challenge living in here some days. Honest. Uh, Cindy's just having a hard time getting moving this morning. That she's just a little tired, a little wore out, a little kind of dragging butt in the morning. Oh, but she is online. But yeah, that's actually her making the comments. So what's been going on? There's actually not been a whole lot going on. Yesterday after the live stream, we ate lunch and really didn't do a whole lot, to be bluntly honest with you. That it was really hot and humid yesterday, and just kind of didn't get a whole lot going on or getting it done. I do need to get out and get some stuff done today. That we're saying we're going to grab all the clothes and run them over to that laundromat that we saw that she called. And I guess during this time that they're not supposed to go out and get laundry or deliver it, but they can accept it, what's brought in. So I'll bring it in and pick it up on Sunday or Monday. And a little bit of it depends on how Cindy's feeling after that. That we may go down to Ayala. I may go down to Ayala. I do still need to run down to Wilcon. That I've been waiting for the owner landlord to do a repair to a toilet, and he's kept on putting it off. Oh, my guy's getting parts, or my guy's and so it's kind of a pain in the tush not having a toilet down there. So I'm just gonna run down and grab the parts at Wilcon and put them in myself. It's not terribly difficult, but it does need new parts to be done right. Hello. How's audio working?
Good.
Any buzz, click, pop, noise?
I think no.
Okay.
Let's try. Okay. Speak.
Well, there's no buzz, click, noise coming through and no one's speaking. That's the big thing that I'm worried about. So Very cool, my audio check. Yeah, that she normally sits beside me and does that. And when we're out in the field, that she'll let me know if there's any kind of problems. Like the other day that we were doing it, now the audio was just horrible, and she let me know, and we were able to figure it out. But Sabunga, it just came out that Bunga Days and all that, their annual town fiesta is canceled again. This next 2 years in a row, Scott, that it's completely canceled, correct?
Yeah.
That Sinulog, they still, this year they had kind of a token effort at it. That there was a few events that happened, but not anything. And at the last minute, they were shut down. All the competitions and everything were shut down to public. There was only the groups, the dance crews themselves, and a few of their helpers and stuff. The huge 500-year celebration that they were planning on doing and have been planning for 4 or 5 years at this point basically didn't happen in April. They were minimal, and none of them were terribly well announced. There was zero crowds. They had a live festival there in Ayala, but there were maybe 200 people watching in all of Ayala. When Sinulog fireworks happened, it's literally chest to back for that entire terraces area. That there I couldn't guess at the people. I would say there were probably about 5,000 people in that terrace area. And yeah, so anytime there's Ayala's good about having live events and stuff like that. And pretty much anytime there is a live event at one of these, there's probably 2,000-3,000 people, even just for minor concerts. And so to have this big of a celebration with maybe a couple hundred is unheard of.
Yeah, it's that's the reality. No.
Well, there's been some talk of doing like a 501st when it is, things do finally reopen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping that's what they're going to do, is they're just going to put it off a couple of years and just be ready to go and just go unexpectedly. I
got distracted. Sorry.
Yeah, so do I periodically. But I'm kind of expecting IB, hoping IB manages to show up. And that was one of them that I messaged.
Maybe he's busy or he goes sleep. But
Well, I didn't send him a link, so
maybe that's right too.
if you want to send him a link, that'd be appreciated.
You know, for some.
I'll send the link. That
I cannot send it in my phone. How do you send it?
I have no idea. I got to figure it out. So talk to these people. Okay. That's that'll be much bigger. Yeah, Cindy's not feeling terribly well, and so I'm just very appreciative she's here at all. Sometimes in life, you've got to look for the positives where you can find them. And during this period of our relationship, that's one of those things that I need to keep reminding myself of, is finding the positives wherever they happen to be and working with that on that one. Yeah, you can't figure it out, I don't think, so I'm going to have to do it tomorrow or whatever.
Yep. We'll do it tomorrow. It's normally it's a link when you start it, but
Yeah,
that's easy. Open your Facebook. Let me try here.
That's right. I can do that on here. I can do that on here. Okay. Yeah, Cindy just helped. This is part of why I really like Cindy around. That
Just copy the URL.
she just reminded me that there is a back door of doing this because I've done it before.
Or here, that one you could post it online. But if you want to
Yeah.
go,
Yep. Give me just a second. I know what I'm doing. I think
okay.
that maybe I don't know what I'm doing.
Sorry, David.
I appreciate you dealing with us, David.
Ah. Cool.
There we go. Okay, one down, one to go.
So that one,
Oh, wrong one.
open up the another YouTube. You will not screw up.
There we go.
Good job. See?
Okay, very cool. I got it. That I guess you guys can't see that happening. That what I actually did is I actually went back and opened Facebook and a few other things, and so I was able to share it to him on Facebook because with all my apps and everything else, I still don't know how to do it on the
Yeah,
phone.
I cannot do it on the phone. You do it on
Not when I'm doing it live.
because you could copy Earl and
So,
read David comment.
you ain't lying on that one, David. That under normal circumstances, Cindy is an amazing lady.
As
Under
normal.
these circumstances, Cindy is
Grumpy.
an awesome lady, but sometimes grumpy, sometimes moody, and understandably so. And she's often just flat out wore out. And she's built another person. Yeah, I can get that. I understand that. So I try to remind myself whenever things are not going the way that I would like them or expect them, when expectations and reality don't match up, I try to remind myself of how amazingly awesome she is all the time.
Thank you. Hi, Ivy.
Good morning, Mr. IB. Yeah, these office live streams typically don't have quite as many as the other ones do. And a lot of times the other ones only have a couple, three people on
We
these.
normally do short too sometimes in this.
The office live streams tend to run short periodically just because of that. And there's only so much information that we've got to share for the next couple days. And we also use those days to go do some housework and cleaning like that, which I need to get done today too. Oh, that's one thing I did do yesterday. I did mop.
Good job.
But I mopped the downstairs and cleaned up a bunch outside too. Uh, and then this morning, or sometime today, I need to mop this upstairs. It's getting pretty bad.
Yeah, but we need to bring her laundry.
The first thing we need to do is take laundry down there.
We could do it in the afternoon. We could do laundry and then head to Metro before we get lazy and so on and so forth.
Gee,
We'll just have lunch there.
that'll work. That actually sounds pretty good.
After this, instead of laying down or something, just bring her laundry, head straight to the laundry and go to the
Yeah, because the other thing I need to find a haircut here in the next.
Yeah.
When's Mama and Papa gonna be back?
Last week of August something. As
It's
soon
gonna be a
as,
couple weeks.
yeah, because they need to finish the QQQ thing or whatever.
Oh, quarantine.
The MC, MEC.
Oh, the MEBC. Okay, yeah.
As soon as their flight from Manila to here, so I need to check them out from time to time.
But they got a flight.
We need to book a flight.
But
Don't roll your eyes.
love you.
Wow, good boy. Now you have an excuse for a full beer later.
Actually, that sounds like a kind of a good idea. But
But you have red horse downstairs.
I do.
You need to drink them. Oh, tell me about earthquakes. Yeah, earthquakes. In Davao.
Davao had a 7.1, maybe a 7.2. It depends on who you ask. Pagasa says 7.2. USGIS says 7.1. So, but I guess it's in the ocean, a little bit south of Davao. But a few people I know in that area, and a few people I know that know people in that area said that, yeah, that it was pretty bad last night. I haven't seen any news reports, so I don't know.
Yes, 7.1.
That like I told one of the people, I've never been through an earthquake, so I wouldn't know severe or minor, and that's something I am not looking forward to being my first experience of. I was kind of through one here that a few people said that they felt it, but I didn't feel
It's
it.
just 4.
I don't think it was that here.
2 something.
That it like I said, I didn't even know it happened until I read about it. I didn't even know it happened, and so the closest we ever came is Phoenix 10 years ago or so, 15 years ago. That I used to work construction, and the truck that I had a huge water tank on the back. And every once in a while, when you'd stop or shake the truck a little bit, the water would slosh, and it wouldn't shake the truck, but you could feel the water move. And that's what my partner and I felt. And we thought that something happened to disturb the water. And it wasn't until a few hours later that we heard from another person we know that made comment to the earthquake. And did you guys feel it? But that was it. We thought it was, like I say, we thought it was just water sloshing on one of the concrete crew trucks. Smoker, not anything else. And it's been insanely humid the last few days. And yeah, if you've got breathing issues at all, the humidity is screwing up your breathing, which makes the current crap going around. Everybody's panicking over not being able to breathe. So. Yeah, and Virginia is really unusual to get earthquakes. Now, New Zealand gets earthquakes occasionally, correct? That because other than Alaska, California, I guess Oregon gets them a little bit too. But other than that West Coast, there's not really much of the U.S. that gets earthquakes. Hawaii, but Hawaii isn't part of the continental United States. So that part of living in the Philippines, you'd be more used to than most Americans. But because, like I say, other than the West Coast area, we just don't get them. Like I said, that I don't. I'm not enthused about being through my first. My sister, that was in the Air Force for a couple tours, that she was in California when they had one that was not a major one, but definitely a little bit more than minor. But Yeah, she said it was horribly unnerving to have the ground just start moving it underneath you. That yeah, they can get unnerving. And like I say, I am not looking forward to my first one experiencing it. So hey, it's just something we're gonna have to deal with. And how often does Cebu get them? How often does Cebu get earthquakes?
So far, it's almost yearly.
Almost. So odds are, before I'm out of here, I probably will. Okay. Cindy was saying that they're.
But the strongest we got is 6.4, 6. That the whole one.
Oh, that one a few years back.
Church.
Yeah. Well, Hall a few years back. Rike was here when that happened, so probably about 5, 6 years ago. That also, have you even been through an earthquake? But Cindy was saying that they have minor ones almost annually on Cebu. So
Yeah.
odds are I'm going to wind up going through one before we leave.
Or maybe you got lucky and will not experience it.
So we're basically here for another year. So
But normally, yes, that's why Mama and Papa knows exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna run to the field with that little.
also, your first one here is going to be just as much of an experience as for you as it is for me. But like I say, the U.S. is kind of like that. There's, it sounds like you might be opposite. That there's a small area that doesn't, and the most does. But we, other than the East Coast, we really don't have them. That I guess I kind of remember something about one back in Virginia that it was a complete anomaly that no one ever expected it.
Yeah, we got used to here with earthquakes. We're used to with earthquakes, so it's just normal.
Yeah, minor ones don't even phase you, correct?
Yeah, I need to answer a phone call. Huh?
Uh-oh.
I'll be right there. Huh?
Okay.
His Papa is not feeling it.
Yeah, Papa. See, I've never even had the opportunity to go into an earthquake zone afterwards to see what that was like. That I've been to a hurricane zone, but never an earthquake. We get tornadoes up where I'm from, and I've seen some of the damage from them. Now that was bad enough, but they're kind of like earthquakes here and gone. But at least the ground doesn't start coming at you, and you get warning that one of those things is coming. In modern age, tornado deaths are entirely preventable. That and even in the past, tornado deaths were fairly preventable. That the areas that had them commonly had these storm cellars underground and stuff that you could go into. But yeah, earthquake is something I'm not looking forward to. Rike, when the one happened in Bohol, that big Bohol earthquake, there was a church that he went to, and he managed to get to it before, and he did a little bit of video from it before the earthquake. And then, like a week or two later, there was a bad earthquake. They had that big 6.3 or whatever, and it basically tore down the church. And so he was able to go back and show some before and after. I think they've rebuilt it since then. All I've ever seen is video of the damage that one of them can do, and I guess a major earthquake can do some horrible damage. Uh, and the one thing I'm kind of surprised of is, other than a few areas, mainly in the Pacific coastal areas, the eastern islands and eastern sides of the islands, I've never heard of tsunamis here in the Philippines. Uh, because I know a lot of earthquakes can cause tsunamis. That's part of the reason why Hawaii gets slammed by tsunamis so often, and Alaska does as well, but I've never heard of them in California. And so I'm kind of curious on why. I've heard of stuff like that years ago. Years ago, I watched a documentary about what they call long run out landslides. That there's a phenomena that they got where instead of a landslide just going and stopping, that they'll go for a mile or more. And I guess it's the same principle, that the situation sets up to where the ground just liquefies as it comes down in such a way that it is almost frictionless when it hits the plane and runs out. Uh, the the bad one Manila had a few years ago, or about a year or two ago, that that emptied out a swimming pool, and you could see the skyscraper just bending and flexing like a freaking leaf stalk. Kind of tripped me out, and I guess buildings in earthquake prone zones are actually designed to flex some just because of that. Uh, uh, Los Angeles, a lot of their buildings actually sit on ball bearings. That there's these like 2-3 inch diameter ball bearings that the foundation in the building set on, so the foundation can move quite a bit and only transfer just a small amount of movement to the building. That Yeah, they had a bad one up in that same one that emptied out that pool was felt really bad up in Pampanga area too, and Philly in the Philippines. There we go. I'm horrible with names. Philly in the Philippines went to a supermarket and a public school or a church or a parochial school. I'm thinking it may have been a parochial school, because church and school kind of, it may have been two different buildings too, but they showed where there were huge cracks in the walls. And somebody came by, and at the cracks, wherever one would go out, they painted leaves on it so it looked like a vine going up it. I guess that was their idea of temporary repairs. And that it's something I am not looking forward to. But from what Cindy's saying, that it's almost inevitable here, if we stay in Cebu or even the Philippines that terribly long. That Philippine Dreams, that he went through one like a year, 6 months, a year after he got here, down in Dumaguete. There was like a three something, and it emptied out the theater, and he said it kind of felt like a big truck or something like that going by. but you wouldn't expect to feel it in the theater. And but it wasn't that bad. But everybody else knew what it was, but he didn't. And the theater emptied out immediately and all that fun stuff. And it wasn't until he got outside that he found out that it was, that he just had his first earthquake. Hopefully mine will be that minor. My first experience will be that minor. That Cindy's not feeling terribly well today. And so you guys are going to have to excuse me that I need to go make sure that she's doing okay and take care of her. I love you guys, but she's definitely my top priority. I appreciate you guys showing up like this, and I'm going to look into that earthquake in Virginia. I kind of faintly remember, but I don't really remember, and it wasn't all that long ago. But oh, I may have spoke too soon. Okay, you're a little bit better.
What are you looking at me?
I just want to make sure you're feeling okay. So, question for you.
Oh, you have a question?
What was your first earthquake like?
I can't remember, but there's so many. I was a kid, and Mama just pulled me up. Hey, come on here! And I said, "What happened?" Like Mama said, "The land is shaking."
You may not have understood what it was, but Mama sure did. So you were pretty young when you had your first one. Any idea how old you were?
9, 10, something like that.
Oh, okay. So you were old enough to
Yeah.
clearly remember it.
Yeah. Until you get used to it, because the following month we have another. And then
Well, they normally come in.
sometimes in a year, 4 times. Sometimes in a year you don't really feel it. Sometimes it's always in a year. The worst experience we got was a typhoon. That the water was here on Mama's, and I'm like 5 years old, and Kuya was 6, and Dudong was 3, and Jiju was like a baby or something. And
Infant baby.
infant. So, and then Papa was in Manila because he's applying for going abroad, winding up, coming back. We didn't really have food that time, so I feel like that's the worst we experienced.
Oh, is that the one when you guys were in Samula? You talked about everybody going up on the second floor.
Of that
Oh,
big house,
okay.
the ancestral house. And then Mama, and Mama has chicken and pig, and winding up the pig was floating. So they need to get the chicken and pig for food. So, and we don't have rice that time, so the neighbors were sharing food with the neighbors, and
whoever brought something, shared it off.
So all the people that Mama's friend and Papa's friend, they actually helped Mama to get all the kids in the window. That was because Mama was crying, and my aunt in Manila,
Uh-huh.
she's always been with Mama for the longest time. So
No, that's Mama's sister. Okay.
so she's been with us for, I could remember.
Why I said that is most of the relatives in Sabunga are Papa's.
Yeah.
Mama's family is more from Bukidnon.
Yeah, in Manila.
But yeah, she does have some relatives up in Manila.
Oh, thank you, David.
Yeah, I was getting ready. You kind of worried me about leaving, so I was getting ready to log off.
Oh, yeah, I was talking to Mama.
Well, because the other thing too is Papa's not feeling terribly well. Not COVID. It's just old man feeling, and so there's no temperature, no fever.
It's just cold and sinus something because they've been drinking Coke, ice cream, eating
But,
ice cream. So listen, it
Yeah, in the
reminds me of
Philippines,
my
drinking
wife,
Coke
like,
causes flu.
I took her to see the video that happened 5 years ago. She said 4 and we have all
Yeah, I kind of noticed that Filipinos have a different perspective than Westerners.
Yes.
A huge movement that's going on in the U.S. and something that I kind of found interesting from a Western perspective, or at least an American perspective, is we Americans in particular. I don't think Europeans are quite as bad, but Americans in particular have big houses. The A 1,500 square foot house is about average. The ex and I lived in a house that was like 2,400 square feet. And it was a decent sized house, but it definitely wasn't a huge house. You know, we both know people that live in 3,000 and 5,000 square foot houses. Uh, but these tiny homes, less than 1,000 feet, and a lot of them are less than 800 square feet. They're small. They're Filipino sized. One of the home shows we went to had one that was on there, and an advocacy group came in and set up a couple different models, and you had probably 300 people in line to go through and see this tiny house. And so there were some pictures and stuff you could look at, and I showed Cindy and asked her if she wanted to go check this out. It looks like it might be kind of cool. And she had absolutely no interest. She said, "You want to get something like that? Find a Filipino architect." And yeah, the homes over here are the tiny homes. And here that's perfectly
Tell me
normal.
where you have 100,000 pesos or 2,000. You could build a Nipa house, which is, half Nipa house and concrete,
For 500,000, you could build a nice brick home. You know, on a lot you own for basically about $8,000, you could build a pretty nice home. That so yeah, that and a lot of it's cultural perspective.
Yeah, I understand that.
That
My parents don't really have signal also in condo, and sometimes, well, my parents are old. Sometimes they don't know how to connect their data or hotspot to get internet. So we have to show them. They're
uh,
easier if you have already internet and it's automatically log in, and it will help their life way easier. So, but with the data, and you need to connect the hotspot and everything. So sorry, go ahead.
oh, David, one cultural perspective you might be finding a little bit of humor of. We got an Australian friend here that his girlfriend or wife, his wife just convinced him to buy a car. And cars here are the left-hand drive, not the right-hand drive. And he's made comment about going over and getting in the passenger side more than once, kind of discreetly looking around but see that and have to go back around and get in the driver's side. It's just so normal for him to get in that side that he winds up getting in and looking, okay, this is missing something. Does anybody see me? And go back out and get back in the driver's side. Containers to make a container home, to do the shipping container home, the intermodal container home. That I've actually thought about that a lot. But in all honesty,
We don't know.
well, no, what I was looking at them for is a lot of people, because once when you cut the sides out, basically all you've got is the heavy I-beams, and that's actually where the structural support comes. The structural support really isn't a whole lot on the siding. There is some, but the bulk of it comes from the framework, the box steel frames. And I'm thinking, Papa, I can do a box steel frame minus the siding fairly easy.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually thinking about trying to do more like that instead of a container home, because with the container homes, you're actually I had a postal truck in the U.S. The postal vans, the vehicles that the postmen deliver mail in, do the home delivery. They have got a right-hand drive set up so that way they can just put the mail in the mailbox without having to get out and walk around the vehicle 50 million times. They'll go up for resale after they've been used for so long. And I bought one back in the U.S., back in upstate New York, because they have so much rust damage there that they're basically completely useless. But mechanically, they're fine.
Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Daniel.
Don't worry, we're about to.
No worries. That the more the merrier on this. But yeah, I did that a couple times when I first got it, and it does make for a weird sight picture after you've been used to driving from the other side for so long. I was talking about something else.
I don't know.
My thought train completely derailed.
This
I'm
is
sorry.
supposed to end in the
But well, when you got up the way you did, I was, and then didn't come back. I was a little concerned.
No, it's okay. I'll just need to talk to Mama.
Well, I know that you're not feeling terribly well either. So.
I'm just fighting over. It's emotionally struggle, mentally struggle, physically.
I can understand that, but
Sometimes it's just your body said you just need to rest, but you lay down, but your mind said no, I need to be productive and think about it. And I have a few months left, and there's stuff that I need to take care, and you know. So,
I
I need to go
understand.
to Ayala and get those containers, folders, because I need to separate all my documents and get ready. And so I don't need to worry when time comes. You're never gonna know. I have preterm or whatever. So, but I don't want.
We're having a Filipina. I'm sure it's going to be at least 2 weeks late. That's gotta love Filipinos.
I'm watching over my intake, but yeah, but we need to bring it on.
Daniel is
Canada.
But where's he from here?
Well,
David's from CDO.
yes.
Okay. But my personal assistant.
Dang, John, it's embarrassing. Sorry.
You got to see what goes on behind the scenes. This is just the tip of an iceberg for real life for us.
Get windows, the door, the frame, and mine. I must.
I've seen a lot of people do that. One of the big things that is kind of a major concern here, the steel that they use is not good insulating. And so if you don't do something to break that, provide either a heat exterior or interior heat barrier, the heat can be a huge problem in those. They do make them, and I've seen them occasionally for surplus sales. A lot of times when you see them, the units are removed, but they do make them that are refrigerated so that you can have, so that you can ship produce and stuff like that. And that they'll be anywhere from refrigerated to freezer level insulated. She's pointing at her belly. I'm thinking.
No, that was just
I'm waiting to see the hand move. Yeah.
I was was just like doing that because I can feel it.
I still haven't felt pumpkin moving around. But anyways, I've actually thought about that, and that would be a really quick way to do it. Because the other thing to look at is
Oh,
Tom,
I know. I just like moving here.
Tom and Ruth Philippines
Have a container house.
have a type of container home. If you feel pumpkin moving, just move my hand to wherever the movement's going. I really want to feel pumpkin moving. My son, I never felt moved the entire time. But they've got a type of container home that actually is set up as a home. That they do what I was talking about. That they've got the box steel frame, but then instead of the corrugated iron siding that they use, that they put in actual housing panels, and so that it is insulated. It does have wire. Everything else is pre-ready, so that you can come out if you have the pad set up. You can have it, the complete house set up in a matter of an 8-hour day.
Yeah. Pumpkin is shy now.
That
Wait next month.
I've actually looked at a bunch of those, and they're getting popular enough that there's several different companies here in the Philippines that are doing it. So, in the future, we may look at something like that. That we talked about it here for a piece of property down in Sabunga to do something like that.
It's always changing.
And that's just it. We've talked about several different things. And now that we stayed at a hotel that was made out of them.
When we have our medical mission.
And they actually did something that was kind of cool. And that they
it
left.
Was uncomfortable in the beginning because it's just, but it was the sliding door. Remember that?
What they did is they put glass sliding doors just inside of where the steel door shut, and they put 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, 5.
And then they stacked another set, but they left the doors open, and then just how do you when they opened them, they bolted these 2 doors, clasped them together and like that, and then had a post or something on this end, or I forget what they did with the end one, but they opened it. And we talked to one of the people, and I said, yeah, that when a typhoon or a hurricane comes through, they're able to just shut them up and secure them, and that prevents any wind damage or anything like that from happening to them. And so I thought that was actually kind of a cool idea. And I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that may not be a bad idea to do. So there may be a couple ideas to do something like that. Her and I have talked really intensely about the NEPA style.
Yeah.
Doing like a NEPA style house, and a friend of ours down in Sabunga has one. And I was a little concerned because I really didn't get it. And he showed me the interior, and he showed me some pictures of it being built. And yeah, it's I've seen some like that, and
Yeah,
I'm not gonna, yeah. But
you never know. Like next year with the travel restriction, we might be winding up extending here.
that who knows?
You never know. Our plans is like this, but it's always changing. So.
And that's just it. That it one thing she's definitely helped me learn and taught, that be willing to adapt to what's going on around you at the moment. And
you're doing great in that. Doing great.
That our entire year here has been just exactly that, adapting to what's we've kind of compromised. And yeah, you do recognize it is good to have a plan, so you're moving in a direction. But I've also accepted that the plan can't be 100% rigid, and that it's unchangeable, and that you need to adapt and modify the current situation. You've accepted it. So yeah, we've kind of merged the two, but that's been our relationship for the last 6 years, is learning what works and merging everything together.
We're looking forward for that day now.
Now, are you guys still planning on coming this October?
Never can happen.
Because
John, the Philippine experience, but
yeah, John's not going to be here until Philippine Experience, because of some circumstances that's going on, isn't going to be here until February now,
next year.
at the earliest.
See, who knows?
And I realize that, and like I say, that these are a lot of plans. That's part of the reason why, for about the first month, until we realized it was more than likely going to work, we didn't make comment about leaving back to the States. We still haven't really. We're not hiding it at this point, but we're definitely not advertising it.
Yeah, because who knows?
And anytime we say it, yeah, it's basically written in pen, but it's a long ways from being chiseled in stone at this point. It's graduated from being lightly penciled into written in pen, and even that's changing, because we've talked about the original game plan. Very cool. And that's actually happening Monday. I've got to do that today.
Yeah.
Do not let me get up or forget doing that immediately after this is over with.
Yeah.
But our original game plan was to leave after we were done with the leaves. With some things that have happened both here and in the States, we've talked about leaving as soon as Pumpkin got a U.S. passport. And then we found out that if we do that, that's going to cause some problems. So we really need to get Philippines passport. And so we're going to leave when we can.
Yeah, it would take a while.
It might be as early as February. It might be as late as August.
Because they're really strict on any kind of travel
Into the U.S. Really? I yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing that she's taught me over the years. Keep your mouth shut sometimes. And sometimes that's the absolute best. But for now, we are going to log off, because we got a bunch of stuff to get doing. And we appreciate you guys coming for the time that you do this. And a lot of you guys are here daily. I really appreciate that. But we will see you tomorrow. Probably going to do a walk over by Ayala area. I don't know yet. But from Guadalupe, Cebu City, mabuhay.
Bye-bye. Yes, thank you. Thank you all.